All right, everybody, welcome back to NYC Crime Spot, episode 2, The Pick. Here he is, Pete the Pick, LaFrosia. Some hate, some love on the first video, but, that's to be expected. It's a polarizing issue. We spoke about Anthony Center. People, a lot of opinionated people, but, I'm not here to judge, just to let me tell everybody in the audience, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to speak to you, Pete, and, it's either you guys would rather have this happen or you'd rather not. I'm guessing you'd rather have it happen. So I understand the opinions. I understand, the negatives, the positives, but, try to make an intelligent point, because being nasty, cursing, leaving disgusting comments, that's not going to get you anywhere. Pete, how the hell are you?
I'm doing the best I can, but how's you? How's the weather up there?
It's not bad. We got a little rain today, starting to come in, but overall it's been all right. Well, it's in the 40s, I don't mind it.
Hey, I'm used to it. That's why.
Yeah.
So where are we going with this today?
Pete, you're born in 1949, Brooklyn, New York City, correct?
You got it.
What was it like growing up in Brooklyn in the 1950s into the 60s?
The 50s, it was fun. A lot of fun, Had like that. There was like, I don't know if you've seen that movies with the gangs. They go, everybody had their own little gang and stuff, There was the M Dukes where I lived, so when I got involved with them, they made me a junior Duke. That's where you used to put your cigarette pack, you roll up your sleeve, and you used to wear the chinos with the engineer boots and the garrison belt. But other than that, it was all right, But you infatuated, when you pass like one of those clubs.
Yeah.
Members only and stuff. And she had guys outside smoking cigars, and all of a sudden she's brand new Cadillacs and Lincolns pulling them and say, wow.
What part of Brooklyn is this?
I would say Canarsie. Yeah.
Canarsie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you recall? Obviously at that time, Paul Vario, guys like that. We'll talk about Vario later. I know you have some connections to that family, but was that kind of one of the biggest names around there at that time?
Well, he was a capo, yeah. Yes, he definitely was. He was a well-respected man. I can tell you that.
He had, you remember his junkyard on Avenue D, Bargain Auto?
Sure.
Okay.
During one of my trials, the kid that was a snitch on the trial told him about how I went to see Paulie in the junkyard, and Paulie liked his gold elephant I had on my neck, and I gave it to him. I like Paulie. Let's see. I used to go to Gefkins every once in a while and say hello.
Yeah, what you just said, I ran across that. Yeah, I actually ran across that. He was saying that, we'll get to that at some point. But Paul does come up in that trial in reference to you. So I want to ask you, because a lot of people may or may not realize that into your teens coming in, you had made friends with a particularly interesting character. Maybe not at that time, but he would become an extremely interesting character. A young guy by the name of Harvey Rosenberg, who would eventually prefer to be called Chris Rosenberg. And here he is right here. This is Harvey Rosenberg, Samuel J. Tilden High School, 1969. This young, strapping gentleman would eventually turn into this guy who's not so strapping. But can you tell me, Pete, like the first time you met Harvey, and kind of what was what did you guys find in each other, and what did you bond over initially?
Well, my first wife, the only girl I ever really married in church, was going to Tilden, So I used to go to pick her up every day. And I had this badass Corvette, and so did he. He had a Corvette also, So we talked and wait, and we started bullshit, and we started saying, and I said to him one day, boy, I wish I had a nice set of side pipes. Next time I see him, he says, come by my house. I said, for what? So I got something for you. Sure as shit, he had a set of side pipes. And then
side pipes.
It just, on the Corvette. It's just rolled from there. Now, he was talented in, we started thinking about other ventures that we could do besides this bullshit stealing parts of cars, And at that time, I don't know if you all remember, but back then you didn't need to have a title. We used to go to the junkyard, find a wreck, take them, write a bill of sale, go up to Massachusetts, right? And go into the motor vehicle, give them the bill. And you leave there with a set of plates, everything you needed. So that was it. You know, we rock and roll. We had plates, we had VIN numbers. He was very meticulous, and I got to be honest with you, at making the VIN numbers.
Right.
Okay, so then it just rolled from there. We used to get a couple vehicles, driving down to Florida, stay for the weekend or whatever. You know, put them in the newspapers for ads, and that was it. That's. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
So you and Harvey, you would steal automobiles. You would change the VINs, put new VINs, and you would go down to Florida to kind of do business to get rid of these cars.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you something, Pete. You talk about Harvey being very meticulous at creating the VINs. What is one way that you could create a VIN? Do you need like a piece of metal or a paint can or something?
Now you got to think about I don't know if you even know what a VIN number looks like when you look down in the windshield.
Yeah, okay? I do. I used to have an older car, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So the thing was, we should get that gauge, right? We had a guy that gave us that perfect gauge of that, and he used to cut them, and stamp them. And, most of them had like a black border. I'm telling you, he was very meticulous when it came to that, and they were beautiful. He did good work like that.
Okay. So you guys are stealing cars. Can you give me like because we hear a lot about Harvey. He hated being Jewish. He tried to come off like an Italian. Can you give me like a personality trait of Harvey?
It's very sad when you look in the mirror and you're not happy with who you are. You want to be something else. It's and so he tried to build up this. How can I get this rapport that I am Italian. My name is Chris. Yeah. And he got himself in a lot of stupid shit because of it, but he got out of it. When he finally met them those people, and they taught him about the gun, he became a tough guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. After that, he just realized he was invincible. And,
right. So the gun made him invincible.
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we hear stories about him. We hear stories about some of the things that he did, he seemingly did. He never got to see his day in court. So we hear things, whether it be his role in what would be known as the Gemini method, or whether it be his role in killing people. Did you ever envision him turning into somebody like that?
No. I would never have envisioned that because he wasn't a tough guy in the street. Okay. I mean, we stopped at a pizza place one day, right? I'm driving, right? And I seen this guy coming out of this pizza place. And I knew this guy, right? And he's walking over to the car. He bent down. He said, "Hello, Harvey." And Harvey looked at him and said, as soon as he turned around, this guy slapped him with a slice of hot pizza. Let me tell you something. This kid was flipping. He never did nothing to him. He wasn't like that, until you learn the power. Do you know a little Italian? You know how to say pistol in Italian?
No, I don't.
Scubetta. Once he found out how to use your scubetta, he was a bad son. All those years of getting beat up or pushed around, all came out of him. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's the best I can describe. And he came from a great family. I mean, his mother and father were great people.
Yeah. So as a late teen, he was already getting in trouble. But you think that he was getting bullied in like junior high school, early teens?
Yeah, not think. I know he was getting bullied.
He was getting bullied.
Yeah. How can I say it? He was like a telephone tough guy. I don't know if you know what that means. Like over the phone, he tell you, God forbid you see him face to face. I gotta tell you, somebody slapped me with a hot pizza. I'm out of that car as soon as he turns around. Yeah, I don't care how big he is.
Right.
Man.
So he was talking the talk, but he wasn't always walking the walk until he found the gun.
Not at that point in his life. No, not at all.
Right. And this is what he looked like once again in the late 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look like a tough. I mean, he looks like, a dweeb, to be honest with you. I mean, he doesn't look like a tough guy.
Well, he wasn't personally, but like I said, our partnership didn't involve being tough guys. At that time we were just stealing cars and making money. You know what I mean? So.
Right. So. Yeah. So, at some point, I mean, I don't know what year he meets Roy because, I don't know what the source is for Murder Machine. I mean, In that book, it says he meets him in 1966, but that's also the same year that they say Roy meets Nino Gaggi. So there's something with this 1966 year. When do you really? Because when you look at Harvey here, look, this is 1969. I mean, and the book is saying that he met Roy 3 years before this, so he would have been 15 or 16 years old. Do you believe that, Pete?
No way possible, because I'm going to tell you something. He didn't meet Roy until that cop, the auto crime cop, went to Roy and told him about Harvey, because the kid that got pinched told the cop who he was. And this cop was like auto crime, and he said to Roy, he says, you got to get these guys to work for you. They're the best. And that's when he met him. He probably met him almost the day before, no, the day I can say that he came to my house when I didn't know who the hell he was. I'm trying to remember the exact date, but it's kind of tough, you know what I mean?
So you say auto crimes cop. Do you want to name that cop, or do you know who that is?
Nah, he's a great guy. I tell you the truth, he turned out to be a great guy. I don't, nah.
Okay.
I can't do that.
He didn't end up in court?
Oh, he did it. And let me tell you something. When I was on trial for that double homicide, he got up on the stand and testified for me, and he told the truth. That's what he did. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I know who that is. I mean.
Okay. So I said, when I was walking out of that court, they thought I was laughing, but I wasn't laughing. I was scared shit, man. 50 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They let me go down to have lunch with my mother and my girl, right? I go down there. I took one bite of the food. I put the fork down. Gave my mother a kiss. Hey, we go. You think I'm going back up into that courthouse? I said, you crazy. My mother says, listen to me. God bless us. They're not going to convict you. I'm saying, hey, man, this ain't bingo. This is 50 years of my life. She says, I know in my heart. I looked at one lady, and she knew that guy was lying. So I'm walking out of the courtroom, and I forgot it was coffee or whatever. He took some laughing at him, so he grabs me, I'm passing him, and he says, listen, just like this. He says, I know you didn't commit that murder, but I'm going to keep busting you until you run out of money, okay? And when you run out of money, you're going to have to come to us, or you're going to go to prison. I said, we're going to come to you.
Okay.
You're going to work for us.
Okay, and this is just so anyone is not. I mean, I know Detective Wendling was on your ass. There was more. There was a few people. But this is in reference to the John Quinn and Sherry Golden homicides.
Yes, it is, and I never
right, which happened in the late 70s. So that's getting a little bit ahead.
A little bit. Well, I just wanted to bring up, because when I was leaving that courtroom, he always says, before I get you again, I'm gonna get that fucking cop. I said, and my mother looked at him. She says, he told the truth. He looked at me and my mother. Boy, he was pissed. Man. Yeah. Bottom line is, I didn't do it, so that's how it worked out.
Let me ask you something, Pete, because I think this is good that I want our conversations to be conversational. I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm interviewing you. So if something comes up, a lot of people watching know a lot about these characters, a little bit of the story. So you just hit on it. We just spoke about somebody, John Quinn.
Yeah.
So John Quinn was, as far as we know, looking from the outside, was a bit of I suppose, a prolific car thief in his own right. I mean,
yes.
From what we're told, I mean, from everything we're told, he was feeding cars to Patty Testa. He had something which would be referred to as, I believe, the Quinn paper or so, or he had some kind of intricate way of doing his paperwork and his VIN numbers. John Quinn is a bit of a mystery outside that. Can you tell us something about John Quinn?
Oh, I met John in prison, right? When prison? We got out, right. I was working for him, actually, at the time, you know what I mean? Boosted cars, bringing them to chop shops, you know what I mean? And I've seen what he could do. He was able to do not only cars, he had a way of doing like heavy duty equipment. And he used to work for this capo in Manhattan, But I don't know if you want to get into that right now, but I was working for him. I was stealing 15 to 20 cars a night, 17. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you were working for Quinn, and you were stealing 15 to 20 cars a night.
Yes. Me and my partner, yes. And what can I say, and then so we were doing real good there for a while, even though the money back then was a lot cheaper than today for cars, but hey, I'll go home with $2,000 a night. I don't give a shit.
So your partner, do you want to name who that was at that time?
Yeah, I'll name him. Willie Kemp.
Willie Kemp. Okay.
Same guy that testified on you. He was a CI, that son of a bitch.
Yeah, Willie Kemp. Yeah, he ends up testifying against you guys. Yeah. So Willie Kemp, he was like one of your partners during the 1970s.
Right, just to get the cars, drop them off, and I said we never hung out, we never did shit together like that. You know, he was just a partner in the auto business.
Okay. So everything we hear about Quinn is correct. He was like a genius with the car schemes.
I think he sold more Seville Cadillacs than Cadillac did. He had that down pat, buddy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And at that time, he was in trouble for a few other. I mean, he was involved. I don't know how much you know. He's involved in some Wall Street scam. He had a couple. He had a couple things going on at that time.
Shit was piling up on him, from what I understand. You know what I mean? And he's getting very close to going into the witness protection program. You know, after he did what he did. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. And I mean, everybody knows what happened to him. So, yeah. So that's interesting, Pete. I was wondering also about, that time in Brooklyn. How lucrative? I mean, how many crews did you have at that time stealing cars? Like, was this something that was focused on one family? Let's say in Brooklyn, was it like a lot of Lucchese, or was it
I'm
just?
gonna say that was everybody had a piece of that pie.
Okay.
I mean, when I say that, there's so many. Think about how many cars are sold a year. How many cars get wrecked? How many cars need parts? One crew could not handle that. You understand? So,
right.
If I was taking that many a night on a good night, I mean, think about that. Fenders. When we used to chop them up, the whole front end, this, that. They made a fortune, these guys, back then in the body shops. I wasn't even thinking like that, how much money they were making. They were cleaning up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let me ask you something, Pete, because I know of a pretty lucrative auto theft operation that was going on in the late 1960s, and I don't know if you remember or if you know these two characters, two infamous brothers, Gambino guys in organized crime, Charles and John Corniglia. Do you remember those guys?
I remember John only because of the Ravens Club out in Queens. He was very close with John. John. You know what I'm talking about, right? John got it, okay? That's when I knew who he was. Before that, I've heard of other guys, but there was so much on the table that it didn't matter. It wasn't like you were invading somebody's territory. It's just
right.
You know what I'm saying? So we never had that like kind of thing. Well, who is this fucking guy? He's working in my neighborhood. It didn't matter.
Okay.
But I do know you're talking about. I don't. What's the other guy's name again?
His brother Charles.
I might have known, might not have. I don't even know.
Okay. No, I was just wondering because they had a pretty lucrative operation in the late 60s. They got busted. They had a junkyard. They had their own little junkyard over there on Fountain Avenue. Okay. So we'll go back to the late 60s. I mean, you're working with Harvey, So as the 70s are approaching, let's say 70, 71, 72, we're going to talk about an arrest that you had. But give me a picture of, like, let's say 70 to 72. What's going on with you? New decade has begun.
Okay, like I said, we were doing our own things with cars, doing very good. You know what I mean? I was married. I had a child by then, a daughter named Tara. Mr. Soul in peace. Anyhow, she I had no problems with that. Everything was going easy, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, it just was rolling. I'm not explaining it, but I was happy with life then.
Yeah.
I was stupid.
Right. You were doing stupid things, but you weren't really in much trouble yet. You were going with the motions, basically.
Right. I mean, I got pinched for stupid shit. I got driving a car. This guy seen he had a hole in his bumper. And he chased me down Coney Island Avenue. I probably stopped him. What is your fucking problem? That's my car. I was wait. Next thing I know, the police pull up and everything. Boom. What do you do? He
Yeah.
told, see that? I can tell you exactly what that is. What colors? I said, oh shit, here we go. Stupid shit. You know what I mean?
No. So let's talk about something interesting. And I know everybody wants to hear about Roy DeMeo. We're gonna get to all that, but I want to talk about your life, Pete. So let's talk about something interesting here. Let's talk about June of 1972, and I want to show you a video right here. Let's
Okay.
look at this right here. Let's look at this beauty right here. Does that look
Hey,
familiar?
that's my paisans, the Michelangelo, huh?
Yeah, that's your paisan over there. The
Beautiful shit.
Michelangelo.
Yeah,
You were once on this thing, right?
yeah. Once, a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. Yes.
Yeah. So let's get into that, and I want to kind of get people into what we're talking about because I said in June of 1972, you're going to get arrested, Pete, and I want to kind of go into what I'm going to do right now, Pete. Is we're going to share the screen, and this is kind of an appeal, but it lets us know kind of what you were into. You see that, Pete?
I gotta get my glasses for you. Hold on.
Well, I could read it.
Oh yeah, if you do that, I appreciate it.
So what this says basically, Pete. So for everybody, let's see. All right. So
Excuse me.
Peter Edward LaFrosia appeals from a judgment of district court for the Southern District of New York, convicting him after a verdict of importing some 78.5 kilograms of marijuana in violation of 21 USC and bringing them on board the Michelangelo. LaFrosia arrived on New York in June 22nd, 1972, after a week's voyage on the Michelangelo from Algeciras, Spain. After leaving the ship and going through customs, they unloaded your Volkswagen camper. They basically found, over close to 55 kilos of marijuana in the gasoline tank cavity. And then down here on the bottom, they actually make mention of your trip, and they think that it's a little strange what you were doing. LaFroche's bizarre itinerary in Europe included 3 trips between Germany and Torremolinos, Spain, within less than 6 weeks. The last being Mr. LaFroche had returned to the United States to care for a sick baby. So it's going on into your strange itinerary on this trip, this little journey that you made. And as I said, you come back and they find 54.5 kilos of marijuana hiding in the gas tank cavity. What the hell happened there, Pete? What are you doing?
You see that date? What was that date? June what? Something?
June 22nd, June 22nd, 1972.
How's this? Talk about luck. Talk about bad luck. It's a hurricane. I forgot which one it is. I'm sure you could look it up and it'll tell you the name. And they're unloading the vehicles off the ship, right? And they got it like in a sling, right? And I'm watching it. Of all the fucking ones that had a break, it was mine. I'm watching this Volkswagen camper hit the fucking. I'm saying, oh my God. And it bounced up, and it bounced out. It looked perfect, right? So the guy says, is this yours? Don't worry about it. We're covered over insurance. And one of the custom guys went around the side with a gas tank. We put the gas in, okay? And it was, when it hit, it split it. And he shot his flash down it, and he pulled out a fucking pack of ash. He says, bada bing, bada boom, into the moon. And that's what happened there, buddy.
Wow. So they had a little accident and it happened to mess up your, and so they found all this. They found all this marijuana. But tell me about what they refer to. And if you could just speak up a little bit, Pete.
Go ahead, buddy.
Just tell me what they refer to you as your bizarre trip, which includes Germany, Spain. You go in here, you go in there. What's going on?
Well, first of all, we were trying to make it look like a honeymoon for me and my wife, because we just got married. We never had a chance at a honeymoon, right? So the whole basis was we were going to go to Europe for the honeymoon, right? And we were supposed to go for a couple of weeks, right? She was pregnant, so she came home. And I stayed. I stayed with the guy. I stayed with the guy, actually, that gave Harvey that piece of pizza on the house.
Really?
Nice Jewish guy, too. And that's another reason he hated him. Because he couldn't understand why he couldn't be happy being who he was, and always talking down about what you would have loved that shot. Anyhow, so that's who I was with in Europe, okay? And so all this back and forth, it was to make it seem like I was on a real honeymoon. Meanwhile, tourists, prospecting, I bought a brand new camper in I think it was Wolfsburg, Germany. You know, we drove all the way down through all the countries. I loved it. You know, we wound up settling in Spain. I had a villa right on the Mediterranean. It was $300 a month, right? With 9 rooms, a maid. You wouldn't believe it. I should have never left there, Brett. I couldn't speak the language, but I should have never left there. It was beautiful. Right? In the morning when I just go out to the backyard, I used to look to the left. I seen the Rock of Gibraltar, okay? When I look to the right, it'd be Africa, you know? And one day I'm watching, and I see this huge boat going through the water. All of a sudden, it started coming out of the water. I said, what the? It was one of those hydro ferries. And I said, I got to go on that. That used to go from Ceuta to Algeciras.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll get another time, that Africa trip. That's funny. Can you hear me, Brett? My throat's a little dry.
Yeah, if you just come a little closer. I know
Come a little bit closer. You're my kind of guy. Yeah, okay.
I know you're a little under the weather, but we're trying here. So where did you get the marijuana, Pete?
In Africa? Check this out.
Africa.
The pizza slapping guy. He had a connection, okay? They were making these trips, you know. So he says, what do you want to do, Pete? I said, yeah, come on, take me along with you. We get there, right? So now we're over in Africa, right? So I'm with one guy, a friend of mine, right? And we wind up going through the jungle, believe it or not, to this little hut. I said, oh man, where the fuck am I? Listen to me. If I had to run for my life, I would have dug a hole and just stayed there. I don't know, in the jungle. Said, So he said, don't worry about it. Stuff's going to be here. Okay. About 2 days later, I hear sirens. I says, what the fuck? And they get closer. How many fucking sirens go through the jungle, right? And I'm looking around and tell the guy, my buddy says, and I says, all of a sudden, I forgot what kind of car it was. It pulled up in the front yard, right? They opened the trunk up and they threw these bales out and they take off. It was the cops. And they take off. And I told my buddy, he says, that's the delivery. I said, oh shit. Anyhow, Then we wound up. When we were here in the United States, right, we customized the tank, you know. We had like an engineer guy, he was a really cool guy. So when you get it there, you get sacks of pollen, you know what I mean? So you would press them to the size that you wanted that would fit into the tank, you know? And that's that story, buddy. I mean.
So you end up in the middle of the jungle, you go to a hut, some guys come, and you think it's the police, but, well, maybe it even was the police, but they were in on this whole thing.
Shit. So when I first got there, and I'm walking through the streets, I went to Casablanca, right? And there's kids over there come running up there. Hey, mister, what do you want? You want this? You want that? You want my sister? You want my mother? I said, whoa. I said to my buddy, he says, we're standing there, right? On the corner now, right? What's the name of that place? I can't think of it. But this guy had a fez hat on. Oh, the Half Moon. And we're talking to him, right? He was from Canarsie, from Frappisheria. He owned the store, but you wouldn't know it, but you'll be talking to him. And he says, now watch. So some guy bought some shit off the kid. He must have went about 10 steps and they surrounded him. Wham! Cops. They took his money. They took the dope. They took everything. They let him go. Wow. Got a very lucrative business going on there.
So after you get arrested, you get what do they hit you with, like 3 years?
Something like 2 years, 2. I'm not even sure, but you know what I mean. You know?
Well, you end up over here, Allenwood prison.
Yeah, before that, I went to Danbury.
You were Danbury.
Right? Yeah, and I was happy with that. I said, "Hour away from home, you know, it's cool." You know. One day they tell me, "Pack up, you're going Allenwood." I said, "I ain't going fucking nowhere." And I tell them, "I like it. Leave me alone." No, you don't understand. It's a better place. I said, "Listen, I like it here." So they tell me to pack up. So what I do, you know, kid, right? Stupid. I'm running hide. I figure, when a bus leaves, they can't take me, right? They fucking searched that place. They found me. They shackled me and put me on a bus. I was the only guy that was going to a minimum security camp shackled up.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go. Fuck is Allenwood, you know? A lot further than Danbury, I can tell you that.
Right. And they refer to it as Club Fed, right?
Right. Well, yeah, everybody was talking about that, especially after the Watergate thing, because that's where they went, you know? That Big Ruda was a funny guy, boy.
Yeah, so you had this guy there, right?
Yep.
And later on, Liddy ended up there as well.
No, I think Liddy wound up in Danbury because he was the toughest out of all of them. Good Liddy, talking about, right?
Yeah. I think they did put him there later 70s though.
Maybe after I left, but
Yeah,
I
after
know.
you left,
Right.
it seems like they did. But while you were there, he was there, Magruder.
Yes, he was about 3 bunks away from me.
3 bunks away from you. So what about him?
This guy was terrified.
Yeah.
After a while, now he came and he says, "Listen, I watch a lot of people come to you and talk to you." He says, "I says, what can I do for you?" He says, "How can I?" He says, he whispers, he says, "I'm scared." I said, "What are you scared of?" He says, "I never lived in like a place like this with all these black people around me." I said, "What? Why are you scared?" He says, "I don't know. I hear these stories. In the middle of the night." I said, "You're in a minimum security camp." I said, "What could you possibly think when you walk out there and you see an indoor fucking tennis court with air conditioning?"
Yeah.
I said, "Remember this: the lower the custody you are, the safer you are, because you know why? Nobody wants to get thrown out of this camp." I said, he says, "Well, what can I do for you?" I said, "You want to teach me how to play tennis?" He started laughing. That's about why, then he did his time, like, and once he felt that he was okay, and I reassured him that it's okay, you're all right. You know what I mean? Just let me know if somebody comes up and tell you they want your canteen or something, we'll talk to them, that's it. But other than that, this ain't like you see in movies where they beat you with soap bars and rape you. That's state time, I said, maybe. That ain't no fed time. And, after that, and then eventually, I don't know if he stayed there or what, but I think I got out before he left.
Yeah. Get into a certain character. Now, this is a very interesting character in the history of organized crime. He holds a very interesting place. People are very interested in him. I did a little story on him on my channel. I think it's got, I don't know, over 60,000 views or whatever it is. People are very interested in this guy. This is some guy that I know you often refer to him as one of your best friends that you ever had.
Yeah. Let God strike me dead right now.
This is Mr. Vito
think,
Arena.
yeah.
And
Here
he is on the stand.
Yeah.
Here he is on the stand. I showed this
Oh,
last
that's
time.
Tom Selleck. That's right. That's
Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, Pete. Vito Arena.
Yeah.
Tell me something about Vito.
Well, let me tell you, I was away, you know what I mean? And I came home. We had our original membership, right? And I came home, I seen this guy, I seen Freddie the name and Richie the name. And I'm looking at everybody. I said, "What's with this guy, man? Who are these people? We never had a problem with each other. I don't." I'm looking, and when you just come home, I don't care what anybody tells you. Your awareness becomes like 100 times greater. You're very, very cautious of what you say and what you do, and you look before you open your mouth. You understand? And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm looking at this guy. Anyhow, so we get there, and like the first time I meet him at dinner, I don't want to shake his hand. I don't want to kiss him on the cheek. I had this terrible feeling, but I swear on everything I love. And if I learned one thing from my mother, go with your gut feeling. If I would listen to her all the times, I'll bite. So, it goes on, and, after a while, just by listening, I told her, I said, "Well, listen, do me one favor." She said, "What, Pete?" I says, "I'll do anything for you, right?" I says, "Yeah. But if you send me with this guy, I guarantee you only one of us is coming home." "Why? What's the problem?" He made his. I said, "Roy, the story that I've been told by close friends of mine and yours is that he made his bones by shooting a friend of his in the back. I don't know about that, you know what I mean? And God's honest, out of the horse's mouth, him and Richie were stealing with this guy, Joe Scorniy, I think his name is, Porsches and stuff. And Joe kept his act together, you know what I mean? He had a nice apartment, he kept money in there, he had a beautiful Porsche. And they knew this. So one day they get back to the shop, right? I can only say imagine because I don't know for a fact, Richie and Vito decided, fuck this guy. We'll do him, and we'll take his car, we'll go to his keys, go to his house, rob him, right? So, from what I'm understanding now, Joe was working up at the bench, right? With his back to them, right? And Vito, from what I understand again, walks up behind him and shoots him, right? It was a was a dud though, but he heard the gun, right? So he turns around. He's like, "What are you doing, Vito?" Vito shoots him again. This time it was no dud. He goes down to his knees, right? And from story that I heard, this is listening to Vito tell somebody else, yeah, I walked up to him. Then after that, I put the gun in his mouth and shot him, and it was another dud. And they're telling me now smoke's coming out of his mouth, his ears and shit. Finally, they wind up killing him, okay? They wind up going to his apartment, robbing it, stealing his car, right? So now these two Einsteins, right, don't know what they're going to do with the body. So Richie's got what I'm hearing, he's got a 50-gallon drum. And this is, you could all, just you go back up. And they decide to put him in it, right? And then they fill it with cement. Now they can't figure out how to lift this sucker thing up. So they get it up, they put it in the back of a van, and they take him out to Richie's brother's house. Freddie's way out and send him to Richie's, right? So they decide to go. Yeah, you know the story after that, right? They back him up to the pier, slam him on the brakes.
Yeah, so the
cops never would have believed him of all things he said until they pulled that barrel up. It was there,
Yeah.
And his wallet ID was in perfect shape.
So you're referencing the murder of Joseph Scorniy, and you're telling Roy that you don't want anything to do with this guy, Vito. You don't want to work with him. And Roy says he made his bones, but in your mind, shooting your friend without him knowing is really not making your bones. That's a scumbag move. You're doing it for personal gain. They want to steal his Porsche. They want to do whatever they want to do to the guy. Yeah. So let me ask you something though. Let me ask you something about Vito. And this is just to kind of get his character. What did he sound like? What did he talk like? Did he have did he sound like a Brooklyn Italian guy, or did he kind of have
he had a little bit of a high pitched voice,
high pitch
as far as sounding it, when he was hanging out with Rich, Okay, let me back up a minute here. Well, we all know that Vito was he had preferences in who his lovers were, right?
Right, he's gay, yeah.
Correct. Okay, so they had their own little characteristics about him that that you could tell if you've been with somebody so long, you could tell, right? And but he came off as a tough guy because I hate to say it because Roy made him feel like one, he made his mom. The fuck, man. I don't understand. But so glad, and I'm so glad I stuck my mother's opinion, because when it came to that trial and they asked him about me, he said, I can't tell you much about Pete. He would never kiss me on the cheek or shake my hand or say hello to me when we came to dinner.
Yeah.
And everybody was laughing, but not Henry. Henry used to pillow talk him.
I mean, aside what he did to Joseph Scorniy, I mean, he had a pretty lengthy criminal record that went back to the 1960s. I mean, before he hooked up to the DeMeo crew, he had about a dozen arrests. Now, he claims before he went to the DeMeo crew, he claimed that he stole like 6,000 cars already on his own, and he was he a prolific car thief? Was he good at what he did outside of what he did to Scorniy?
I got to tell you, but I really, sometimes you just don't want to know certain things about certain people. You're better off, you know what I mean? And he's one of them guys. Now, if he did that, I'm feeling terrible. He broke my record.
He broke your record. Yeah.
That's a lot of cars, bro. I mean, come on. But
that's what he said.
I heard that it wasn't so much him that was a good car thief. It was Richie.
Richie Denome, yeah.
Right. Now, he was a driver. He would drop Richie off, and from what I understand, Richie would pop the car, and then Richie would get out of it, get a car, a good car, and Vito would drive it. But as far as his personal track record, I got to be honest with you, I can't answer that.
Right. Let me ask you something, Pete. With that Joseph Scorniy incident, and this is a guy that also got indicted with you guys. This is a guy by the name of Ronald Turekian, and they called him Bulldog. Do you know that guy?
Yeah.
Did you have anything with him?
Nah, he was good with cars and shit like that. But his statement. Now, this is my personal. When when he told the judge, he said to the judge, he said, "You got anything to say, Mr. Tarekian?" And I'm sure you read the minutes, right? He says, "Your Honor, I got grease on my hand, not blood."
Right.
Jesus Christ, man. What are you saying?
Yeah.
We all got blood on our hands. We ain't got grease on them. I don't know. Anyhow, but what are you gonna do?
So not too much with him.
Yeah, basically, he was who he was, and I hear he's doing very good right now. He owns a couple of glass places and shit.
Yeah, from what I could tell, he's still around somewhere in Brooklyn.
Yeah. He has glass places for cars and shit. I think something like that. Somebody
Be
told me.
interesting if I could. Be interesting if I can get you two guys to sit down together, but I doubt he would do something like that.
Oh, I would. I want to ask him to his face.
No. I'm saying you would. I don't know if he would.
He would. Now, he ain't bashful. Now, don't get me wrong. He might take it as an opportunity. He sees to maybe put advertisement in the store. He thinks that.
I would love it, Pete. I mean, if I could get it, because I'll be upfront and honest with you, Pete. I've already kind of tracked him down, but I don't know how people are going to act. You call him up, hey, Ronald Tarekian, yeah, Roy DeMeo, this and that, fucking hang up the phone in 2 seconds. I don't know how somebody like that is going to react.
Well, see, I don't know how we react to that too, but you can't erase public record.
That's the thing, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could see if there was no mention of him anywhere, nothing, there's no record of him anywhere, and and all of a sudden you bring this up, I'd hang up on you too. You know what I mean? But how do you hang on something that all you got to do is go to the files here, whatever they call it, and pull it up, and there he is.
That's what I'm saying. If somebody goes to his auto shop or his glass shop, if they type his name in Google, what do you think they're going to find? So that, but I just wonder how a guy like that has been quiet for so many years. If he'd even be willing to do something like that, like if you came up to New York and I had both of you guys sit down, I think that would be extremely interesting. But
I to this day, I always wondered why he said that. That was like Paul Castellano's lawyer, his first statement when it came out, to the jury. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am Roy so-and-so, and I represent Mr. Castellano. Mr. Castellano declared 11 point something million this year in taxes. Why would he need to be about a bunch of guys like us?" Everybody looked at each other. You know what I mean? And that's basically the same thing. Okay, Your Honor, I got grease on my hands. I got no blood.
It's kind of the same thing.
And it worked. He got fucking 5 years too, you know what I mean? It worked, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Ronnie got 5 years, yeah. But then again, you got 5 years too, so.
When they pulled, but see what happened with me during that trial. Two things that really helped me during that trial was when John Bennett got on the stand to testify against me, setting up his cousin John Quinn. When it came time to point me out, and he told the prosecutor, Walter Mack, "Is Mr. LaFroche in his court right now?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "Okay, could you point them out?" Now, I want you to notice that he said when he met me in the street, I had a beard and everything, and that's why you see me in the court. I kept telling my lawyer, I said, "Listen, man, I don't know this fucking guy." I said, "If he points me out, God damn, something's wrong." And I'm sitting there, sure as shit. When he said point them out, he stuck his hand out and he pointed at me. He was right at me. And I started to stand up and he went ballistic. He says, "You're not Pete LaFroche." I looked at my lawyer, he looked at me. He said, "What the fuck is?" And he pointed to Henry.
Right.
He said, "That's pointed to Henry." Oh my God. I said, "Henry, what the fuck?" I says,
yeah, he pointed to Henry. That's 100% right.
6'1". You know what I mean? I'm 5'7", 5'8". I'm looking at it. And the jury went, wow, like you're watching movies, ooh, wow.
And when he pointed to Henry, because from what I know, Judge Duffy asks him to point out who Pete is. He points to Henry, and apparently from what I read, Henry steps up and goes, "What? Is that me?" Like he's pointing at me? Like, what the fuck? Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah, I was in shock because Henry was sitting to my right. Now, he ain't that. And he's pointing at me. So did the prosecutor, "Okay, stand up, Mr. LaFroche." I'm standing up, and he goes, he thought we were trying to trick him. He thought our lawyers were trying to set him up, by saying that. And he says, "You're not Pete LaFroche. That's Pete LaFroche right there next to you." I said, "Oh, shit." Sat right down. I don't want to move on to that.
Jesus Christ. You said John, just to clear it up, you said John Bennett before. It's actually Joseph Bennett. But John Bennett is somebody, John Bennett is someone who we don't have to talk about. He lost his
No,
life earlier
you're
on.
right. You're correct. You're very
Yeah,
correct.
I just want to,
I just thought about it. Yeah.
just in case the commenters come say, "Oh, it's not John Bennett." Yeah, it's Joseph Bennett. John Bennett is somebody else, and he had a untimely ending. Maybe one day
And
we can speak about that. Maybe not. But
so
but let's get
so
back.
now you
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay. So what I'm saying now is, like you said, Ronnie got 5 years. I also got 5 years. Okay, so the trial's going on now. All these special agents, FBI agents were saying that I'm here, there, and everywhere. And it's showing. We got pictures of saying we got all this. And that's why I just snapped. I said, whoa, what the fuck are they talking about? I was in federal prison. They came and picked me up. So I called my lawyer. I said, Joe, his name was Joe Winograd, great guy. I said, Joe, he says, are you sure? I looked at him and I said, how the fuck could I not be sure if I was in federal prison? What's the matter with you? So he said, we're not saying nothing. He was smart. He waited to the end of the trial before they had to make their closing statements, right? So everybody, now you got to remember, I wasn't on bail now, so I had to go back into prison every day, every night, every day, every night. So he says to the judge, we got a problem, you know. He says, and the judge says, what problem we got, Mr. Winograd? He says, all these special agents, right, that kept saying my client was here, there, and everywhere, couldn't be. He said, what do you mean couldn't be? He says, he was in federal prison. The fucking judge looked at Walter Mack. He said, Mack, just like that, you got till tomorrow morning to prove to me that Mr. LaFrosia was on the streets.
Wow.
So now the next day comes, right? So before he's walking in, I can see it. He's shaking his head. Mack, you know, walking. The judge says, stop shaking your head. What do you got to tell me? He says, Your Honor, he was in federal prison. Not on me. So now they're trying to figure out how they going to tell the jury, you know? And I'm all, Your Honor, just tell them I was in prison. He said, we can't do that. We don't want to taint your image, Mr. LaFrosia. I said, taint my image? You're talking about me sitting over here cutting up guys who eating pizza. You want to taint my image? He says, bailiff, take him to the back. So they worked it out where the next day, to close a statement, he says, before I start my closing statement, I'd like to let you know that Mr. LaFrosia could not have been at these places. He was out of the country. Out of the country. What the fuck? So they go, now, they're going, ooh, again, you know what I'm saying? So now you got to think about it. Now they go, all these special agents lying. Then they got their fucking star witness for the Quinn thing lying. So they looked at me, you know. So when we polled the jury at the end to find out why they convicted me of that, they said, you know, he's the oldest guy in that crew there, you know what I mean? How do we know? And the judge knew just what he was doing. How do we know he wasn't slipping in and out of the country doing things, you know? See, he knew he was going to get me one way or another, and that was his way of doing it, you know? And, hey, I still feel blessed. But
Yeah.
it's like watching a movie when you see the jury go, ooh, I said, oh my God.
Well, it should be a movie, Pete. You know, it should be a movie.
And
One more thing with the court. I want to show you a picture right here. New York Times, Wednesday, October 16th, 1985. Mary Lee Warren, prosecutor questioning Willie Kampf, who we spoke about earlier. From left, we have Anthony Center. We have Anthony Nino Gaggi. We have Paul Castellano. And we have you, Peter LaFrosia. So, what was your relationship with Nino? I mean, I assume that you didn't have a strong relationship, but maybe let me know.
No, well, Nino was a straight up guy, you know what I mean? I mean, he knew. You gotta. He's so old school. It's pathetic. Like he hung out with Charlie Luciano, them guys. You know what I mean? So like he understood the thing, you know. And it's not that he belittled any of us. He just knew what our places should be. You know what I mean? Just like he tried to groom his nephew. And you know, he only gave us so much money a week. So when Dominic used to come down to the bar, and see Joe Anthony dressed up in their nice clothes and everybody with jewelry and driving, say, used to flip him out, you know. But he didn't understand that Nino was grooming him for a better thing, you know what I mean? To be better than what we were supposed to, you know, be like above us, you know what I mean? You know, in all ways, you know what I mean? And that silly stupidity is what caused Paul to get indicted, because he was the connection between them and them, you know?
Right.
I mean,
So yeah. So you say, and I know you say this not to make fun. You say Nino was so old school It was
Oh
pathetic. And
yeah,
I know you don't mean that it's actually pathetic, but you're just trying to stress a point. So what is it
right.
like? I gotta ask Pete, you're sitting there, you got Anthony Nino Gadji and you got Paul Castellano. Did you ever think like, did you ever look to the left, look to the right, like, how the fuck did I get here?
I'm gonna tell you something. I looked behind me, and my mother was sitting there, right, and she says, when they indicted us, I was like the third one down on a list, with Paul, And she
Yeah.
said to me, I knew he was something, but that high up? I said, Mom, I'm a car thief, you know that. Bullshit. You're going to trial with Paul Castellano because you're a car thief. I begged, I broke my heart. I begged, don't come. Mom, please don't come to the trial. You got to hear all that shit. It's crazy, you know what I mean? But
Did you speak to
how did I
Paul during
feel?
the trial at all?
I spoke to him maybe 3 times in my whole life. But Veterans Club down there,
Right.
other
Veterans
than
and
that,
friends, yeah.
yeah, other than that, what can I tell you? Me personally, I ain't saying nothing, but whatever happened, I think happened for a reason. So,
Okay.
he had his finger so far down in everybody's pocket. You know what I mean? It didn't matter, and the favors that he asked to get done was ridiculous.
Yeah.
They got done because of who he was. You know what I mean? Truthfully,
Yeah.
if I had to put my money on anybody that would have been the right guy, would have been Neil Delaroche.
Neil
That
for
would
the
have been
boss. Yeah.
that would
Neil
have that would have
Delacroix.
been the
Yeah.
true that would
Yeah.
have been a true guy. You know what I mean? He was who he was.
Right. Now, yeah. And listen, I know that you've actually had friends out there in the life that one day they're here, next day they're not here anymore. But it's got to be a little strange that you're actually sitting next to someone in court and the next day or a month, later or whatever, all of a sudden, oh, Paul ain't making it to trial anymore. I mean, that's got to be a little weird, Pete.
I'll tell you how weird it was. I'm an MCC, Metropolitan Corrections Center,
Yeah.
because I couldn't make bail because I was still finishing up my time, right? And all of a sudden, I forgot what time that cops come running to my cell, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna get arrested for now? They said, Pete, you're gonna get a mistrial Monday. I was like, what the fuck do you mean I'm gonna get a mistrial? They just whacked Big Paulie. Now, when the judge started this trial, he says, ladies and gentlemen, jury, there's gonna be no mention of mafia, organized crime, any of that, right? What do the headlines come out? Capital Tutti di Kappa. Paul Castellano shot down in the streets. So everybody thinks, what does the judge do? He goes, ladies and gentlemen, jury, you think this is going to have any bearing on your decision? And they shook their head. I said, uh-oh, we're in deep shit. I mean, to me, that's a mistrial. When the judge declares something in the beginning,
Right.
saying, and it comes out like that, headlines in all newspapers. Anyhow,
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that like that. Wow. That's really interesting, Pete. Huh.
but
Yeah. Hey, before we go, I know you're short on time, and it's interesting that why do you think why do you think there was no mention of organized crime? I mean, I have an opinion of my own, but
well,
why?
because you got to remember when I first started out, right? The prosecutor, he wanted to try us for 200 murders. This is what I'm hearing, okay, from my lawyer. The judge
Yeah.
says, "Are you crazy? We'll be here forever." So he said,
Yes.
"Do something with that, right?" So next day he comes back in. He says, "How about 150?" The judge says, "You better start working good." Eventually he came back in for 25, and the judge, I don't know, I didn't hear it my own ears, said to him, he said, "Listen, if you convict him on any of them 25, I'll sentence him like they killed the whole 200." That's what I heard now. Now, they,
Yeah, it's really
and
interesting, Pete. Yeah. Because listen, whether you want to believe those friends you had on the street did everything people said they did or not, but one thing I always do, because Pete, I speak to you, I know we speak about things on the side or whatever, how much interest I have in this case and some of these characters. One thing that I've learned to do on my own when researching these characters, your friends and yourself, is I actually try to separate it from organized crime, and I try to look at it as a story outside of organized crime, only because I view it as an incredibly bizarre story, Pete. And I'm not trying to offend you in any way when I said
no,
that,
no, no.
but
Listen,
I've always looked at it as something separate from organized crime. That's not to say that Roy wouldn't have been involved in these guys, but there's something different about it to me, Pete. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
you got to remember, we really got indicted for cause. Okay, that started the whole shit for cause,
Right.
right? And then, of course, the government, they say, well, maybe we can't, make that stick. So what do? They come up to Rico, right? Rico to me is like you're sitting in your grandmother's house, right? She takes a spot of spaghetti and throws it up on the wall. Some of that spaghetti's going to stick. I don't give a shit which way you turn it, and that's the way they played that, buddy. They really did. And I don't know what to say. Now, there was two guys who was supposedly killed. I think it was Falcao, the Daru, something like that. I don't know. Car dealers.
Khalid Dowd, Ronald Falcaro, yeah.
There you go. Now, the way that they overturned that conviction for certain people that were on trial was because they proved that they weren't citizens. And they went back to the days when the Chinese used to build the railroad, right? I didn't kill them. And they got that sentence overturned because of that.
Yeah, there was a crazy judge. Yeah, there was some crazy judge in Texas back in the day, and he said, "There's no way that this civil rights says that you can't kill a Chinaman," or something like that.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't a citizen.
Yeah, Dowd wasn't a citizen. Falcaro apparently was born on Long Island, but for some reason they weren't able to prove it. So Henry got off, and
that's what I like about you. You do your homework, buddy.
I try my
best. You don't get up
best.
there and bullshit nobody. You tell the truth. I like that.
Yeah. Well, Henry got off. Ronald Eustaga got off. Henry got off. But then they ended up hitting Joey and Anthony with it anyway, which is, I don't know how that works, but
God works in mysterious ways, young man.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. You'll never know. If the justice system was really a justice system from this period to the end of the sentence, it'd be great. But somehow, somewhere, everybody throws some shit in the game, and it's really not the justice system. They don't care. I don't give a shit what anybody tells me. If the government wants you, and I don't want to, you never put egg on their face. Because once you do that, it's a sad, sad case. They'll go to the end of the earth to get you. Someday we're going to a story what happened to me. I'm gonna tell you. And that's what made a believer out of me. Okay. But we'll talk about that. You'll like that story, I think, Brett. You really will. It's a true story anyhow.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to more stories. We're still working out the kinks, just for anybody noticing.
You better start working a little fast. I'm 75. I ain't getting any kinky younger.
We're gonna work faster. We're gonna get it done. Good reception on the first one. We'll edit this in a certain way. I know we had a little tech difficulties, but everything is good, man. People just want to hear from you, and we're working it out. And we're gonna talk about a lot of interesting things. And
but I want to ask you a question. If you want to edit this out later on, it's fine. I would like to tell Anthony, God bless him. I love him. I'm hoping things work out as you say they will. You're my friend. You've always been my friend, and a friend is a friend. There's no way you can do it. My honest opinion of a friend. If I walk in the room, you're my friend, Brett, and somebody else is my friend there, and I walk in and say, "Listen, guys, I'm going around the corner. I don't know if I'm coming back." You should say, "Well, fuck it, we ain't doing it. We'll take a walk with you." That's friends.
Yeah.
And I love Anthony with all my heart. And I love Joey too, but me and Anthony were more. How can I say? When Anthony walked away from that Gemini with me, we were like normal kids again.
Yeah.
You got a guy, you know what I mean?
A little too serious, Joey.
Joe. I love you.
A little too serious, Joey, you think?
Oh, he's very serious. Yes. He's a very serious guy.
Very serious. Okay.
Well, they said I was very mysterious.
Yeah.
They never knew where I was, what the fuck I was doing. And they used to come up to pull up in my Jeep. Oh, here he comes, Mr. Mysterious. That's way before the pick.
Hey, listen, whether they want, whatever the case might be, nobody can say that Roy or most of those guys, we'll say one of them, maybe not. Nobody could say that those guys didn't respect you. And, because there's things. Say it.
They didn't respect me, I would have been dead because Harvey wanted to do, we'll tell that story another time, whenever you feel like it. And
because listen,
not people.
You go to trial and all these things happen, way before the indictments. We're talking about 7-8 years or whatever before the indictments. You go to trial and people have an opinion on a crew like that, that they probably easily could have just cut your head off or whatever you want to say.
Without
But
a
you know
doubt.
what? They didn't. So I mean, and then you went back anyway. So it says something about you.
You know what? The longest walk was from that front of that apartment to that kitchen table. You know, you always said, is this the last walk I'm gonna have? Just and then especially when you got almost to the end, you see a piece of fucking plastic on the floor. Now you want to turn around, but you ain't gonna make it anyhow. You passed the halfway point. Let me tell you something.
Oh my
But
God.
like you said, I'm still here. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
always said this. I never said nothing about nobody. I never hurt nobody. You know what I mean? Not like they say we did. I know I never did. I can speak that from my heart. And I told you the 3 reasons I would hurt somebody, right?
Yeah.
Don't hurt me. If I know you're gonna hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you first. Don't hurt my family because I'm gonna resolve that problem too. And Brett, like I'm gonna tell you right now, I consider you a friend. If I thought somebody was gonna hurt you, well, I might not even tell you about it. I might just try to eliminate that problem because I chose you to be my friend. Better than my family sometimes. You're stuck with your family. You can't choose them.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was offered money to do this. I just wouldn't do it. It just wasn't me.
Right.
You know?
It wasn't you. Yeah.
I'm not a saint, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to preach. I'm just telling
Yeah.
you my heart. And you go back 35 years, you could ask somebody and they'll tell you the same thing I said right there today.
All right. Well, Pete, you give people things to think about, Pete. And I don't know. So many questions, but so little time as of now. But we're gonna get to it. Pete, thanks again. I think people are gonna get a lot out of this. You have anything else you want to say anything to the viewers?
Yes, I want to say thank you for listening to me and thank you for believing in me. I hope because what I say is from my heart is the truth. I don't want nobody ever to call Mr. Brett here and say, Mr. LaFroche is a liar. That'll never happen. What I tell you is the truth from my heart. I got no reason. Hey, 75, what do I care? Take me away. But how can I say this? Yes, they were my friends. Okay. That was my choice. It's like when you go in the military. Yes, I joined that. Why join that? Nobody put a gun to my head. You understand? So
Yeah.
things worked out the way they did. Like you said, I did mine on the installment plan, 22 years. It's
22 years. Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
years. Man,
A
if you
lot of
make it a
years.
dollar,
Yeah.
you made it up. You're better at math than me, Brent.
I got it all, Pete. I got it all. I mean, hopefully
Anyway,
we'll talk about all of it. I got all the
yeah,
paperwork on you, buddy.
I like to take a segment if we can, where I could just tell a lot of the funny things about me and my friends. So there's a lot of funny things that you
Of
would
course.
laugh at. That would be like when I watch the things on TV with the dumbest criminals and shit, or whatever. Be like
Yeah, the
that.
dumbest
But
criminals.
still,
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
funny shit, man.
Yeah. No. We want to hear the other side. We want to hear all angles and the funny
That's
stuff.
what I want to hear. I hope
Yeah.
the viewers want to hear it too, because I'm not saying they're going to change their opinion about anybody, but they're going to sit there and laugh. They say, "No way, not them guys. They did that."
Pete, you'd be surprised. They want to hear everything. I had a comment before I came on with you. Oh, I would love to hear exactly what you were just saying. How was it with them just hanging out? Well, what were they doing? Was it fun? This and that. People want to hear that stuff. Believe me.
Well, this is what I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen. I wore dungaree shorts, t-shirts, and sneakers. I never had that GQ look. Them guys could have been models. Truthfully, yeah, they could have been.
Yeah.
It would have been good. But hey, that's them. This is me, and I'm still wearing dungaree sneakers and t-shirts.
Yeah.
75 years later.
You never change.
No. Yeah.
All right, Pete. Well, this was good. Stick around for a second. I'm going to end this.
Okay.
And I'll see everybody on the YouTubes. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And maybe we'll take some questions. Maybe next time we'll pick a couple questions or something.
Oh, that'd be nice.
All right. See you guys.